we're gonna have a great time because we have some dynamic women on this podcast, on this Zoom today. We got LaDuina Smith, we have Corinne Bowman, and am I missing my base Keisha? She's there, isn't she? Okay, she's not on my screen.
He's not on your screen?
And she have Keisha Knight. We're not worried about that. I know she's there. And in the event, let's just introduce ourselves. And LaDuina, you're first. So LaDuina, introduce yourself, and then Corinne, and then Lakeisha. Now, give us the Reader's Digest version. I saw some of your bios. We don't want the whole bio, okay? LaDuina, you first.
Yes. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is LaDuina Smith. I am currently the team leader of Keller Williams One Chicago. I have been in business for 17 years. However, I've been with Keller Williams for 15 of those 17 years. I started off as what I call a mentor before we even had mentors. Then from there, I became a productivity coach and had a very successful coaching program. I'm an assistant team leader. From there, VP of growth and career development, which was pretty much a mesh between a PC and team leader. And then currently in my role as a team leader of Keller Williams One Chicago, I have had a couple opportunities for investment that we're going to talk about, I believe, a little bit later in the call. And that's it. I'm a single mom. My wonderful daughter is a true KW kid. She's grown up in KW. Emmerich is grown up in KW, has gone through KW Kids Can, probably knows bold laws better than half the people in the company. So that's it about me.
Corinne.
Hey. Yes, this is Corinne Bowman here out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I say Charlotte and Raleigh. I actually started my real estate journey on the other side of the fence. I started honestly back in 2003. I used to manage for Wells Fargo. 2008, I bought my first investment property because I was really interested in building wealth. And I understood at that time that real estate was that catalyst. I became a broker or agent at 2011, joined Keller Williams from the very beginning. The reason why I even joined Keller Williams is for two reasons. Number one, I was looking for an opportunity that I can thrive as an entrepreneur and build wealth. And that is what we were all about. And then number two, I just love the culture, right? When they talk about God, family, and business. In that space, I have, created a great opportunity, built an amazing team out of Raleigh, North Carolina. In that juncture, I started doing a lot of leadership opportunities within the association, my local realtor association. And now I am the proud operating principal and owner investor in Concord, Kannapolis, right outside the Carolinas. And I know Julia would want me to say this, I am the first African-American operating principal in the Carolinas. And so I'm really interested and excited about this conversation that we're about to have, because we're going to really talk about how we work through barriers.
Thank you. If y'all just tuning in, I had asked these ladies to talk for real about themselves, because I know it's easy for people to try to be humble and all of those things, but that's not what this is. So I know we're not about to have no problems out of my girl, Keisha.
Hey, ATL representing in the building. Hi, everyone. I am Lakeisha Knight. I am the newest investor in the first Black-owned Keller Williams here in Atlanta, Georgia. I started my career with Keller Williams in 2013. Came from corporate MBA and marketing, Home Depot corporate, and jumped feet first into real estate. Became the first Black person on the ALC for the Keller Williams Sandy Springs office, which was really shocking to me in 2016. And from there, I've taught every class that KW has at my market center and have won countless awards through KW, and started talking about the ownership possibilities back in 2019, when at that time my team leader, who is now the regional director for KW Southeast region, was at our office, and we just kind of chunked up goals. But here I am, and I'm so excited to sit and talk with you guys today about this path, because it has definitely been a journey.
Which, by the way, I hope we're all invited to your party. You having a lunch party.
Oh, we're having a huge grand opening. It'll probably be sometime in September. We actually are onboarding our agents, switching them over right now. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about that process as well, because it is a lot. So,
Right. So we ready?
Yep.
Yes, rock and roll. Hey, gang, like we have some questions and we really want to ask the question. Give us your honest answer. I shouldn't have said that because I'm looking at this pen. I said, give me your honest answer. I probably shouldn't have said that. Okay. Just give it to us straight, no chaser. Let's be real with this conversation. And just, I'm going to start with Corinne because you're in the middle of the screen. Corinne, briefly describe your journey to becoming an investor and a franchise owner. And then here's what I want you to do. Were there other investors involved in your journey, as someone that helped you, that just pushed you, gave that little extra push?
All right, great question. So how did it all start? Believe it or not, it actually started in the back of your woods, Emmerich, right there at National Harbor in Maryland.
Okay.
And so I had recently just got remarried, and my husband and I, we decided to just go to National Harbor, MGM. Once it was cold, it was Martin Luther King weekend. So it's like free at last, thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. And one of the things that I'm really big on is the GPS tool that we use, and that's goals, priorities, and strategies. And then also doing the career vision out of what that would look like, where we want to be 3 years and 5 years from now. And we spent hours doing that. And in that, this was back in 2018. Everything that we laid out that we wanted to see within 12 months, within 3 years and 5 years, we was actually able to accomplish within 3 years. And so it really started with the vision. And, you know, I'm a believer, so I also thought that my vision was God seated. And so I always thank him for that process, but it was the vision. And then from the vision, be able to strategize amongst that. Okay, well, how do you even get there? Well, I wanted to, obviously, the biggest thing was I wanted to build wealth, right? Not just wealth for me, but for my children, my children's children. I wanted to create real legacy. And I understood that real estate was that pathway. And so as we were building our investment portfolio, I said, well, why not be able to invest in the market center? That was the first step. Like, how can I actually invest in the market center? How can I become an operating principal? Well, one, I needed capital. And so in that, the next step was I need to really ante up on my wealth building journey and making sure that I was a true accredited investor. So a lot of times we talk about these opportunities, how do you get there, right? And so I really had to have a strategic game plan on how I'm going to build wealth at a high level that's going to allow me these opportunities. And we talk about how we want the seat at the table. Well, sometimes we have to go out there and either build the chair ourselves and develop that pathway. I will also say I was also thoroughly impressed and inspired by Emmerich, yourself, to see somebody of your caliber that was so authentic in your own right in this space, that was truly an owner operating principal and was creating impact at a high level, as well as with Bo McKinney. And when I saw you guys at Family Reunion, that's our national conference, and that mega camp, and I'm seeing what you guys are doing, why would we not want to be a part of that? Why would we not want to say, how can we do that in our own backyards? And so that was part of my journey.
Okay, cool. And so I want to go to a different place with LaDuina, because I know you've been around, you've done some different things, and just from that space of you being inside the system for so long, who or what inspired you to become what inspired you to become a market center investor owner inside the space? Because you were team leader, you were other people. What inspired you?
Yeah, so my journey was a little bit different, right? And we're keeping it 100 on this call. It was rough, honestly, to be completely honest. So my journey started with me actually going to regional events that I really honestly just kind of stumbled upon. And so someone had registered for a regional event and they could not attend the event and was like, hey, do you want to go to this event? I got a free ticket. And I'm like, sure, I will go to this event. And so I walked in to the event and there were no Black people, none, no people of color at all. And so I was like, this is interesting. What is, occurring here? And started from there researching about the events because I hadn't known about the event and I had been with Keller Williams probably for a few years at that point in time. Okay. And so started coming to more and more regional events and we just weren't represented. So I pulled our regional director at the time aside and said, where are all the Black people? And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, we have an issue. We have a problem. Like there's no people of color in these events. However, there are agents that are mega agents that are in this company that probably should be in this room, people of color. What is going on? And that's what prompted me to start doing more research and saying, well, what else don't we know about? What else don't I know about? What other opportunities and resources are out there? So in doing that research, I started finding out about market center ownership, how that works, the different roles, within the office and the market center, and how you are able to, position yourself to, get those opportunities if that's something that you're interested in. So my journey started with me reaching out to, at that point in time, my team leader to say, how does this happen? How does this get started, right? Who do I need to talk to in order to get this started? And I bugged them. I became the fly on the wall. I became the person that was literally counting, right? Every event that I went to. Okay, great. There's 2 of us here now. This is progress, right? I was that person. I was that person. So my journey began with me doing the research and then finding out about the list, right? The opportunity list for the region.
What's that? Please, I'm gonna interrupt you. LaDuina, what is an opportunity list?
Listen, this is what, I don't even know what it's officially called. However, that's what I called it. I call it the opportunity list. Okay. So, and this is so.
It's the list that you only get to see it's the list that you only get to see if you're in the room. That's correct. What it is.
Correct. And I started forcing myself into the room. I'm like, is there any reason why I cannot be at this meeting? They would send out invitations and says, oh, this meeting is for OPs and TLs and MCAs. Okay. And I would be like, only? Is there any reason why I cannot be in this room? Right. So pretty much saying, you're going to have to tell me no. You're going to have to tell me no, which no one ever did tell me no. It's a registration. I'm going to register. I'm going to pay my money and I'm going to be there. Then I saw the list, and the opportunity list was the list that the region had put together for potential market centers in the region. It was their growth plan. It was, hey, we have this many market centers right now. We are hoping to have this many market centers by the end of the year, the end of 3 years, the end of 5 years. And these are the areas that we are thinking that these market centers should be in. Yeah. One of the areas that they were thinking was in south of Chicago. And I was like, who is slated for this? Who is slated for this opportunity? and wasn't exactly happy with the answer at that point in time, because there were no Black people or brown people at that time.
And so when we having this conversation, what, in this idea of opportunity and breaking down barriers, what we're really saying is that if this is an opportunity that you want to pursue, you can't be quiet, you can't be silent, you have to let it be known, and you have to show up and be ready for your opportunity.
Now, with that said, Emrick, I'm gonna tell y'all something that y'all might not know. This might be hot off the press. And so for the people who have showed up in this room, the people that are on this webinar, they're getting the same information that we talk about not being at the room, but that opportunity list that you're referring to, LaDuina. Actually, we are here at KWRI, Keller Williams Realty International. That is going to exist for the entire country, and it will be shared publicly on a website. So by the end of August, we will have access to go wherever you live and say, I'm wondering if there's some opportunity, and throw your name in the hat, just like that list that you didn't know existed until you were in that room that you weren't invited to. So the people who are on this call have heard it first. We are working on a public website that will have exactly what you said: territories, areas, locations, opportunities, that exist. And that will be public for people to throw their hat in the ring and have an opportunity to speak with the regional director about how do they be that person and who is slated, like you said, and how do I put my name on the list to be slated for this particular location that I'm in, et cetera. So that's one of the new opportunities that didn't exist when obviously you ladies became owners and investors.
And that's key. That is key, that this list exists. And we're going to get into this in a minute because this question is coming up right now. When we look at the list, understand what the prerequisites are to actually be able to take advantage of the list. And Keisha, that's one of the questions. What are prerequisites? What prerequisites were required to become a market center investor? And how did you prepare for your first opportunity? Because I believe that's a great start to everything, just being ready. Put me in the game, coach. Put me in the game, coach. And you don't even have your sneakers on.
That's a great question, Emrick, for sure. My journey started totally different from these ladies on the panel, and it's so beautiful that all of us have different journeys in this. Mine came more from the perspective of, I was an ALC member, which is Agent Leadership Council. I sat on the board for 5 years. A couple of those years, I was the only Black female on the board, Black person period on the board, and I just got an opportunity to come through.
Put me in the game, coach. Put me in the
Right. I got an opportunity to come through and look at owner profits, to be honest with you. And I had always, in my mind, had an idea of my exit strategy from selling retail real estate. And so it became just a passion of mine to get into ownership. So at that time, I was in Jean Rawls' office here in Atlanta. I actually had breakfast with her, and I just sat down and asked her point blank, how do I prepare myself for an ownership opportunity within the region? And she told me that you need to show up and be visible. That's all she had to tell me. From then on, I was at every family reunion, every mega camp. I taught every class possible that the ALC offered us to teach. And I was just very present. I also was a productivity coach for our office for years as well. So I just showed up repeatedly. I was at Bowl. I was very active in our office. And I had those conversations with the powers that be, which put me into some rooms I wouldn't typically be in, because I'm starting to have those conversations and they know I'm interested. And just so happened, like I told you guys earlier, my TL in Atlanta ended up moving to the regional director role. And we had sit down a couple of years prior to him moving to that role and wrote out my goals as well as his. And mine was to be an OP in ownership for a KW office. So he knew that, and he saw the work that I was putting in. So he definitely helped me make that happen once he transitioned into that role.
So, and one of the things that we're hearing is that you all three of you were pretty aggressive in your pursuit of ownership, which is huge, because it takes a different type of person to, number one, be an owner, and it takes a different type of person to have that that forthright or that forthcoming, or that grit to step out there and say, this is what I want to do now. And you stepping out and you having that grit and you letting it be known what you want to do. There had to be some challenges that you had to overcome in that process. So Corinne, what were some of your challenges in that process that you had to overcome just to even get in the room and to get that opportunity?
Well, wait, before Corinne answers that, you've been
Uh-huh.
you've been using some terminology, all of you have, that maybe everybody doesn't understand. We've been saying OP, investor, owner, you know, we've been using this language and everybody might not know exactly what all that language means. And maybe even Corinne, because part of your challenge is maybe you can even answer that. What are the differences that in all these terms we're using? We're saying OP, owner, and investor. What is the difference in all of that?
No, that's a great question. So one, when you look at from like a owner investor, that is somebody who is financially invested in the market center, right? They own part of the shares of the entity of that business. The operating principal is the person who is now literally the overseer of that entity. They are, for me,
Wait, can we use a different word other than overseer?
Visionary.
well, I was gonna say they're visionary, right?
Yes.
So it's their responsibility to make sure they create a vision for that market center or for that firm or that company, where it's going and so forth. And so when you talk about, you know, the challenges, there's definitely challenges. For me, even getting into that seat, even though I had a vision, there were things that I had to do for the opportunity for I to be seen. Because let's be very clear that it's not typical for somebody that may look like me to be in this role. And so I was actually in a servant leadership position, doing a lot of things with social equity, with our DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion space. It allowed me to create opportunities to actually work alongside my regional director and have really these tough conversations. And we would talk about, you know, opportunities for leadership, investor opportunities, and making sure that we're finding a way to create these resources that be available to even our Black and Brown associates, because we did come from a disadvantage. So now that I am looking into this opportunity, the biggest challenge is like, okay, I'm here, what the heck do I do? And I'm grateful that I had Emmerich. I can just pick up the phone, call Emmerich. I just called him the other day on some stuff. I'm like, Emmerich, I need to run this by you and pick your brain. I had Bo, and I'm like, okay, Bo, I want to sit down. And they would tell me things, or hear the questions where they're asked, but yet it was still kind of like this closed door. Now you're here. Let me see if you can actually survive and be here. Have you qualified for this position? Mm-hmm. I used to always get this question, and I used to get really offended. I'm not offended as much now. So how did you even get this opportunity? Because it was so far-fetched, right? I hear somebody smirk because I was like, what do you mean? How did I get the opportunity? You know?
Well, Corinne, you made a good point, though. You said it's very rare to see somebody that looks like me in this role. So we have 834 market centers, offices, for those of you who are not with KW, 834 right. offices. We have 11 Black operating principals. We have 834 offices, and there are 11 Black operating principals that are owner operating principals, investors, et cetera. So when you say it's very uncommon, I just want the people who are watching today to recognize the importance of this panel that we're having with the four of you are four of those 11. Then I might even be, I might need to go back in my notes because I think somebody might not be one anymore. But it's a very small number of right. people, you know, and so I just want to make sure that people understand when you say it's very uncommon, how uncommon it actually is. And I would also like to address the fact that that has been an increase. That 11 is actually a 30% increase. It was only 7 a year and a half ago. And of course, now we got our girl Keisha, right? Now we got, you know, so we're improving. We've had a 30% increase over the last 12 months, but that it was only because it was 7 to 11.
Well, and let's be real. Let's just go back 6 years ago. it was probably like 5 out of 700 market centers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so
Did I mention that Emmerich was the oldest? I mean, not oldest.
I am the oldest.
Longest
I am
Longest
the oldest.
standing Black
Voting in
OP.
progress.
I'm the oldest. I am the oldest.
I think we got two Keishas. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
And I am the oldest. And I welcome that. I welcome all of that.
So I wanted to kind of touch a little bit on what Corinne was saying as well, as far as the challenges, because I get this question a lot. I think also because you know, me being in the role that I'm in, and you know, the same thing. How did you get this in this position? However, one of the beginning obstacles that I had to overcome is that I was not what we call Kellerized, right? So I was at Keller Williams. I was an agent in Keller Williams. However, I had the mindset at that time that, okay, well, I'm not paying an additional, you know, $129 to go to Wynwood Cellars. I'm not, you know, I'm not paying for these extra classes or putting myself in, you know, those in the rooms, right? Which I think is one of the obstacles that I deal with now with other agents of color, right? Paying the extra, coming out of the little bit of more that you have to pay. However, I wasn't Kellerized. I hadn't gone to any of the major classes that they look at to say, okay, have you invested to learn a little bit more about the company? So franchise systems orientation, which is, you know, a Keller Williams course that it's a prerequisite if you are looking to be in an investor or be in ownership. However, I went to that as an agent. At the very, very first time I went to FSO, I went as an agent, right? Future casting to say, hey, I am going to be in a position, right? I foresaw it. I'm going to be in a position and I want to be ready, to Emmerich's point, right? Put me in a game, coach, put me in a game, coach. I want to already have on my shoes. I don't want you to be able to say, oh, well, doggone it, you need to do this, and this is not going to happen until this time. No, like getting ready ahead of time. Franchise systems operations, by the way, FSO is coming up at the end of the month. It's not a super expensive class. I think it's only $400. There you go. Get Aaron, wouldn't it? It's only $399. And it's July 27th and 28th, right? However, it explains to you what running a successful market center looks like, the growth, the profitability, the culture, right? And how it is your responsibility to protect that and build your market center. So that was eye-opening for me. However, that was the biggest obstacle starting off, is that I didn't know the people. I didn't know the classes. I wasn't completely Kellerized, right? Outside of reading the MREA and Shift. So that was like the biggest obstacle. So I went into extreme learning mode where I'm just going to everything. I'm like, whatever, open up the fire hose, give it all to me. Let's go.
But
And
LaDuina,
so-
let me ask you, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Emmerich. But
No, good. Go ahead, ladies first.
thank you. But LaDuina, I ran into you in the hall at Mega Leadership, which is,
Yes.
by the way, one of those events that we say is for, you know, market center leadership, the team leader, the MCA, whatever, but people can register for. In fact, I think we've got somebody tuning in. I met him at Mega Leadership and he wasn't in any of those roles. He was doing exactly what you said, just forecasting and going there to learn. But I met you and ran into you at the hall, and you shared with me a bit of the journey of getting to this space. And because you're not a sole investor, there are other investors with you. Do you mind sharing a little bit about the challenges? Because when you started telling me,
Yeah.
I said, I can finish this story. I've heard it 100 times.
Yeah, so when I very first started, which was years ago, so my original journey to a market center investor ownership probably started, I'm going to say about 5 or 6 years ago. And when I originally started, again, I've gotten into the room now, I kind of know what we're going to do and was told, yes, okay, you can do this. Here's how you go about doing it. Here's what you need to do. And so I'm like, great, let me find support, let me find people, and we are going to do that. I'm going to do it. And so I did, and I started doing it, and I started conducting what I call, shaking hands and kissing babies in the area, right? Making friends with the agents, taking up a time, because this is a time commitment, because I'm still in my role, I'm still running a business. On the weekends, though, I am visiting other agents from other brokerages that I've compiled a list. I'm like stalking people, literally on the weekends, because I'm like, this is going to be my core group when I open up my market center, right? And so then we fast forward to the actual opportunity, and they're like, oh, no, not quite. That is going to go to X, Y, and Z, person. And I'm like, pump the brakes. What is happening, right? Was not a pleasant experience. It was one of those, let me close the door, and now you're getting all of the sister girl at this point in time, because I was livid. And my grandmother had a saying, okay, I'm sure that everyone's told, like, God don't like ugly, right? Yeah. So that opportunity did not happen. It did not happen, because God don't like ugly. And then we fast forward to now, right? So now with opening up on the south side of Chicago, when we came back, the opportunity was presented again. I was skeptical. I had gone through this before. I'm like, come on, like, I want this, right? It is so needed. Our market center on the south side of Chicago is going to be the first market center in our region that has all minority ownership. And that is huge for the city. Everyone is rooting for us. Everybody is rooting for in the city of Chicago, right? And I had to think long and hard. I received a lot of no, this is different. Before I'm like, okay, I'm going to invest my time and energies, and it is different, and I'm grateful for that. However, the first time coming out, not a great experience.
Two reasons I wanted you to share that story is, one, because of the tenacity and your resilience. You were told no, you had already prepared for it. Were told no, and that's, discouraging and disappointing. The other reason I wanted you to tell that story is because you partnered with some guys who weren't KW, and you partnered with some guys who were from a different brokerage, and together you all are making magic happen in South Chicago. So I wanted the people to see that, one, sometimes you got to just keep moving forward. And two, it's not only opportunity for you that was already in Keller Williams. You were able to be in a position to help some other guys who were not Keller Williams come into this world, and also be able to have some investment, because who you're in business with matters. That's what we say a lot of times.
Yes. Yep.
And so
we talked about that too. I think being the people that you are aligning yourself with in business, they are KW people now. However, they're not KW people. However, all influencers in their own right, in their own spaces at their company. So essentially recruited talents from outside of KW into KW, however, using this opportunity because they wanted it as well, right? Using this opportunity as a tool for,
And so, and with that being in mind, I had some experience with Southside Chicago, because I was helping someone 15 years ago, another Black owner from Exit, working to break into Southside Chicago. It didn't happen. So I know exactly what you're talking about. On the other end of that, though, like in this journey, you had to have some kind of cheerleader. There's someone that was cheering you on within KW, somebody that was pushing you. I just want all three of you to go through just really quick in 15 seconds. Who was the person pushing you? Who was your biggest cheerleader? And why was that important for you? Corinne, who was your biggest cheerleader? And why was that important for you inside of KW?
Well, my biggest cheerleader, who is inside KW, but is also inside my home, is my husband.
Okay.
Marcus.
He can't, he's supposed to cheer you on. I'm talking about somebody that did not have a vested interest in that.
Well, here it is. I needed that though too, and it was my team as well from our KW real estate team. And what ended up happening was our community. It was the KW Brown community.
Okay.
Because there were a lot of people, and I'll be very honest, there were a lot of people that were cheering me on, and there were some people that were just waiting for something to fail, right? And so
everybody that wishes you well is not a well-wisher.
amen to that, right? Amen to that. And so I really appreciated just some of the folks from our KW Brown community, because they really rallied behind me and yeah. There was actually like a surprise dinner that somebody did for me. I'll shout it out, Claudine Ellis out of Virginia. And she was like, I want to celebrate you in this and really cheer you on. And it was those outsiders that really came in and said, hey, I see you, I recognize you, and I want to support you, because I do understand that in this journey, not everybody's going to do that. And so
okay. And I was invited to that dinner. I was out of town. I wanted to make it. I just couldn't. So I heard about that directly. Keisha, who's that person inside the KW that pushed you, that was just that beacon of light for you? You're one of your biggest supporters and cheerleaders.
I will definitely have to give all props in that to Mike Ray, who is the Southeast regional director. Like I said, he was my team leader prior to transitioning into the regional director role. He is definitely my biggest supporter ever. He pushes me, he guides me, and he wanted to make sure this opportunity happened, especially in a city like Atlanta, which is 49% African American, and there being no Black ownership in a KW franchise here. So he definitely, and he's still pushing and motivating and seeing us through this journey for sure.
Beautiful. And so for you, LaDuina, that person in KW that just pushed you to that place, and the big cheerleader.
Yeah, so to Corinne's point, all of the Black and Brown agents, once they hit word.
Shout out to the KW Black Real Estate Network.
Yes, once they hit word, right, it went down that little the little gossip line, and they're like, is it serious? Like, let's go. So that support. However, besides that, I'm gonna say in this current endeavor, it is going to be my current OP, Joe Zimmerman, and then our regional director, Dan Holt, who actually had the conversation with two of our investors, literally in the middle of a snowstorm in Chicago, to help, plant that seed to get them over to KW. So Dan and Joe, for sure, I consider both of them allies. Yeah,
great.
I call them affectionately our white allies.
Yeah, hey, look, that's real. You pull strength from all people from different sources, and you have to pump into your resources. Relationships will take you places money can't. And so when we talk about that, see, a lot of people, they see that ownership, and everybody, I've heard this so many times. I want to be an OP. I want to be an OP. I want an OP. Now you see this big picture, and it looks really glamorous, right? And here's the reality. How did you have to reorganize your personal business to embrace this opportunity? And then what were some of the sacrifices that you had to make to actually bring this to fruition? Because a lot of people say they want to do it. Everybody say they want to, they want the cake, but they don't want to see how the cake is made. People say they want to eat the sausage. They don't want to see how the sausage is made. So, what were some of the sacrifices, just the challenges that you had to embrace? Tell us about the sausage being made, because that's what we want to know. Tell us about this sausage. It's
I
great.
need to hear what Lakeisha has to say. She's raising her hands, all of this. Yeah.
Go ahead, Lakeisha. Tell us how the sausage is made.
I just want to say to the people listening, yes, the OP sounds like a glamorous role, but it is work. The first thing you told me, Emery, when we sat down for dinner and talked about me, committing to this role was I had to be in the office every day from 9 to 5. And I was, oh Lord. Because as agents, we run our own schedule, how we want, when we want, and everybody, kind of falls in line with that. But the first thing you have to do is get your business house in order. You have to have a team to run this OP role efficiently. Let me just say that. And, luckily when coming into this role, I had started my team and now I have a team of 4 that run the business. But also you have to manage your personal life in that as well, which was, I started out as OP for KWS ATL. And to be honest with you, I decided to take a step back and just become an investor in the market center because personal life happened, things happen in my family. This has been the most traumatic year of my life, to be honest with you, since I've been in real estate with personal affairs. So you really have to take all of that into consideration when you're stepping into this role because it requires a lot of you. Not only is there a financial commitment, but there's also obligation to franchising law, the things you have to do for KWRI to be in line. And top of all of this is recruiting. KW requires you to have recruited at minimum 45 agents outside of KW to even be considered to be a market center in the first place. So heavily, like Ladwina said, I am stalking agents, trying to recruit them and selling them dirt, literally. It was like selling new construction. We don't have an office.
Right.
We don't have a location. We don't have a team leader. We don't have anything. But hey, believe in me and take it to the promised land.
I like that. And so Ladwina, in your case, how did you have to restructure your personal life, your business to embrace these opportunities? And just what were some of the sacrifices that you had to make?
Yeah, so I'm going to say honestly, my biggest sacrifice is probably my own personal time, right? So that was a sacrifice, and that's something that I took on knowing that it was temporary, right? You can do anything for a temporary period of time, right? So my own personal life, I had to get really focused as far as my schedule. If I didn't have enough on my plate in all of my roles, I also serve as the second vice president in charge of programming, planning and development for my sorority. And there are over, 650 of us. So that's a pretty big role and responsibility. And I didn't want either of them to suffer. And so my personal time, I ended up sacrificing, and then also my business, because I was not in a position like Lakeisha, where I had the opportunity to build the team before I stepped away from it. And so that was a huge sacrifice for me.
Okay. Corinne, because this is the important stuff here. Because what we're doing is we're shining a light on the fact that everything that glitters is not gold. So
it is not. I will tell you that the OP role wasn't necessarily a sexy role, but we're bringing sexy back, right? You talk about the struggles of that transition. I feel like I'm still in it. I'm a little bit different than everybody that's on here because my market center that I own and operate is actually about 2 to 2.5 hours away from where my primary residence is. So you talk about sacrifice, it was real sacrifice. And sometimes, when opportunity shows up, it doesn't always shows up exactly how you vision and what that looks like. And I had a choice. Did I want to take on this opportunity that was presented to me by my regional director? And I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I knew it was going to come at a cost. That cost is my business. I do have a small business team, and making sure that we were anchored and we were still moving and shaking. It came at a cost for even my marriage, to say that there's gonna be some nights where I'm not gonna be coming home that evening, even for my kids. And so there was so many sacrifices. And I also wear some other hats, right? I'm the social equity leader for the Carolinas. And, I look at these things. I was very prominent in my market center and giving back. I've run a nonprofit. We have other businesses that we do. Can I really do this? And what I realized, too much is given, much is required. And it was the vision, and it was strategy, execution, understanding the why behind it. Why am I doing this? And in that process, for me, the reason why I even stayed in the role and love the position through all the things and we go through life is because I realized it was something that was bigger than me. We talk about impact. In the positions that we have, especially as, Black and brown stepping in these spaces, we don't realize the impact that we have on others, because as people see us, they were like, oh man, here's an opportunity for me. I can see myself in this, and we're opening up more doors. And that's what we're doing now. I love the fact that it went from 7 to 8 to 11. I can't wait till we cross over 25. I can't wait till we cross over 100, because there's so much more opportunity for growth for us in this arena.
And Corinne, you said the perfect thing, because Emric, before you ask your last question, I just wanted to reiterate for those that maybe have logged on late or are joining this conversation late. That's what this whole conversation is actually about. Gary Keller started a social equity task force in 2020. And a large part of that was, and I'm looking at my board here because a large part of the goal of my role is to create opportunities for Black and brown associates, internally and externally, right? But for people to be able to see that is an increase. It's a slow increase, but it is an increase, and there's a ton of opportunity for people. And maybe OP investor owner isn't for you, but there are a lot of other roles that we didn't get a chance to talk about that may be for you. So before we go, I wanted to say a few things. One, we have something called a KPA, and the KPA allows you to identify what role might be most fitting for you, to see if maybe you are a great fit for an OP, or maybe you're like Gary Keller says, maybe you are a mega agent, which is the best role in the organization. That's what Gary would tell you. Gary would tell you the best role in this entire company is a mega agent. Maybe whatever it is, we have a KPA, and you can take that personality assessment, and we can help you identify what role might be a good place for you to start working towards, and what opportunity you might want to work towards. So if you're interested in taking the KPA, you can email us at equity@kw.com, and we can help align your personality with an opportunity that exists out there for you. Lastly, this is a production of the KW Black Real Estate Network. So if you are not yet a member of the KW Black Real Estate Network, please join. As you can see, there's a large support network there for whatever opportunity it is you are looking into and seeking. And then lastly, we have a podcast called The Color of Money. And that podcast is talking about building wealth in the Black community. And this conversation will be hosted on that podcast. Corinne has been a guest. We're going to have Lakeisha and LaDwina talk about building wealth in our communities through real estate, through entrepreneurship. And then lastly, because I think we didn't leave much room for questions, I'm going to ask it. Emma, can I ask the last question?
I think you're volunteering me that you're going to ask the last question. So, I mean, who am I? Who am I to say no?
You are the godfather of Black Keller Williams Real Estate. What do you mean? Who are you?
No, man, and I defer to you on a regular basis. I just
want to know from this wonderful panel of phenomenal leaders that we have here, what is the best advice? What is the one thing that you could tell somebody who's looking to pursue an opportunity as an investor or an owner of a market center? What is the one piece of advice that you would give them?
I will say to that, closed mouths don't get fed. So make yourself visible and show up for the opportunity, make it known. talk to people and get in relationships and be active in your market centers. It starts at a market center level, just being visible so people know who you are and people recognize you and network.
Mine was gonna be similar. Get in the room. Get in the room. I'm here to tell you the room exists wherever you are. Even if you do not think that the room exists, I'm telling you right now, the room exists wherever you are, and get in it. Like, you know, squeeze your way into that room.
And if I would just have to add to that, is just go after the opportunity. If you want to go after it, right? And know that everything for me is about strategic planning. So if this is something that you want to do, create a strategic plan, get a GPS, goals, priorities, and strategies to get you there. Can't nobody stop you. We're waiting for you.
I love it. Now, friends, that's it. They got other places to be. I know y'all probably have questions. You can reach us at equity@kw.com. You can speak to any of these owners. Thank you, LaDuina. Thank you, Lakeisha. Thank you, Corinne. And especially thanks to the godfather of Black real estate, Uncle Emrick. Thank you, Uncle Em.
All right, y'all.
Thank y'all for all tuning
Thanks.
in. Yeah.
Much
Thank you.
success. All right.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
This was awesome.